This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so LifeLock wants to remind you to update your passwords. Using the same password across multiple accounts makes you vulnerable to cybercriminals. For comprehensive identity theft protection, let LifeLock alert you to anything suspicious and fix any issues. Start protecting your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Our blood is boiling because we're bringing in now Congresswoman Nicloe Malliotakis. Congresswoman, I couldn't believe that Mayorkas, who emerged from the dustbin because he hasn't been anywhere, comes out and makes this announcement and says no money, essentially right now. It looks like it's running out for the poor hurricane victims who've been devastated across America, that they think they're going to run out of funds. And it's like a flush amount of money, it seems like, for the migrants. How do we reconcile this?
Well, you remember the ridiculous response they had in Palestine, Ohio, when you had the train derailed, you had the fires in Maui and Hawaii, and now it's no different. This administration, again, dragging its feet. They are slow to respond. When they do respond, they're going to give these individuals $750, really, while migrants, people who are here illegally, are getting billions of dollars. And in fact, there was an article in Newsweek not too long ago that highlighted it's not just the federal government, it's the city and the state that are doing this as well. In New York City, they're getting more benefits than veterans are in many ways. So it's Democrats at the federal, city, and state level that are doing this. House Republicans have tried to stop this. We have tried numerous times to get something passed that would say FEMA funds could not be used to house these migrants. And what makes matters worse is a city like ours, we're seeing that people that are being housed in these shelters even include people that are committing crimes and wreaking havoc in our city. So not only are they slapping the faces of these citizens that are hurricane victims that need that funding to get back on their feet, but they're also slapping taxpayers who are forced to pay for this to wreak havoc on their streets. Believe me, we've tried multiple times, and Schumer every single time refuses to allow it to come for a float or be inserted in other pieces of legislation, provisions that would prevent this money from going to migrants, and so it could be used where it needs to be, like now during an emergency, to help these people in these multiple states.
You know, I can't believe, Congresswoman Nicloe Malliotakis, that we're talking about like all the money. You think about New York City alone, anywhere from 5 to 10 billion on migrants. I mean, and now we have these people who, if you see these images, they are decimated. You could see these towns like Boone, North Carolina. I know I used to work in North Carolina. I went to school in South Carolina. I'm looking at these communities that I covered, and they are like collapsed. It is heartbreaking. And these people they are Americans. And why are the migrants getting priority? Last year I was looking, FEMA gave $640 million to support the migrants in the 2024 fiscal year. This is disgraceful, Congresswoman.
Yeah, and that is why the last funding cycle voted against that money, because they would not include that provision that would prevent that money from going toward this migrant housing, this crisis that we're seeing in New York, which is a man-made crisis, right? 60 executive orders by the Biden-Harris administration that allow these individuals to come in, and then Mayor Adams allowing them to, or incentivizing them rather, to come to New York City because they would be receiving all these free benefits. Is also another reason why I think there needs to be more scrutiny and investigation into these no-bid contracts. So much of this money is going out to these nonprofit organizations, and they're not even being really scrutinized. And I really feel like there's a lot going on there that needs to be investigated to protect the taxpayers, to do our fiduciary responsibility. I do hope that the proper authorities are investigating it, as we're seeing them investigate other things going on in our city right now. But you're absolutely right, and I put the blame really on Biden and Harris, who allowed this to happen, but also Senator Schumer, because he refuses to work with us to fix it, because we've tried multiple times And we've passed legislation, our House, to stop it. And every single time it stopped, it was dead on arrival in the Senate, unfortunately. But the other thing is, why is Kamala Harris skipping hurricane briefings? Why is Joe Biden at the beach when this was hitting? I mean, we have also the strike at our ports. Where's the president? There's zero leadership. We have called on the president a couple of weeks now to intervene by trying to bring both parties together to negotiate. That is what President Trump would do, right? The author of The Art of the Deal. It's even what President Obama did. So I don't understand why there's zero leadership coming from this administration that we have, and it's all the more reason why we need to get rid of them and reinstate Donald Trump at the White House.
Yeah, it's like the world is falling apart. There is no leadership at the White House. The number two is out there campaigning, and no leadership from her either. John, your thoughts about all this?
My number one interest is the American people first. Why don't we take care of the American poor? Take care of the Americans that need help before we worry about the migrants. And I want to hear the same from Ed Cox or David Paterson, Governor Paterson.
Yeah, Governor, your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of shocking that they would make this announcement without a plan. In other words, if they really are running out of money, why did they make the announcement unless they had gone over internally what they were going to do about it? It was, oh, look, we're running out of money, and that's all we have to say.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so LifeLock wants to remind you to update your passwords. Using the same password across multiple accounts makes you vulnerable to cybercriminals. For comprehensive identity theft protection, let LifeLock alert you to anything suspicious and fix any issues. Start protecting your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Nicole, your thoughts?
And that's really nonsense, because the money was just extended. The government was funded, FEMA was funded, through December now. So the money is there. It's that they're not prioritizing it for citizens. So you're absolutely right, Governor. You're asking a valid question, but their reasoning is very flawed. It's that their priorities are backwards. And that really, at the end of the day, is the bottom line. People have to question themselves as to why do they want to continue down this path of having citizens of other countries be the priority and not the American citizens. We could say the same thing locally about NYCHA. I go to NYCHA housing facilities in my districts. They are in grave disrepair. They have so many issues, from leaks to mold to mites and roaches, whatever it may be. They have problems, security issues. They could use cameras. Things don't work. The windows won't open in some cases, whatever it may be. Instead of putting the money to improve these facilities for these people who are paying rent in New York City housing, right? It's public housing, but majority of them paying rent. They pay a percentage of their income to live there, and we're not making improvements, or the city's not making improvements, but instead they're putting up individuals who are committing crimes oftentimes in our city in a luxury hotel room. It's ludicrous. And then when they get caught and arrested, they don't even work with ICE to deport them. So I'm obviously very frustrated. My blood is boiling.
Every American should be. Every American should be.
And New Yorkers should be too. But if they keep voting for these same Democrats that do this, they're going to get the same results. So I hope they'll maybe change a little bit and recognize what is going on and who's responsible.
Yeah, and take care of Americans first. Congresswoman, thank you very much. We love having you on. Thank you, Congresswoman Nicloe Malliotakis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.